Want the address?
Yes, sir.
5316 West 99th Place, Los Angeles, California.
How long have you lived there?
Maybe in that particular residence?
Yes. No, Los Angeles.
Oh. Maybe 31, 2, 3 years, something.
We're here about an incident, as you're aware, that occurred on July 20th, 2010, correct? And it's my understanding that some of the events took place 2 days prior, on July 18th at Sunday, correct?
I believe so.
All right. Now, you overheard an argument or a conversation on July 18th, 2010. Is that a fair statement?
I don't believe.
Did you not, or rather, did you get a phone call from your daughter?
Yes.
And in that phone call, did your daughter input the jury that her name is Sylvia Smith?
Yes.
How old is Sylvia?
31, I believe. No.
Okay. And what if she told you that Mr. Malingoni had put his hands on her, correct?
She told me that he had pushed her down.
Did any time before that day, did Sylvia tell you that Justin had ever physically abused her?
I don't believe so.
All right. And part of what we've heard today is your contention that you were concerned about your daughter's well-being.
Right.
Now, can we agree that on July 18, 2010, she was not in imminent harm or pain?
Objection calls for a legal conclusion.
Goes to the nature of their defense, Your Honor.
I could just
They choose
ask
any-
a different question rather than to ask him what the legal standard is.
Right. Maybe we might want to rephrase it.
What is it that did you have the belief that Sylvia was in imminent physical danger on Sunday, July 18, 2010?
When she called, I was concerned, but that something might happen right then.
Imminent physical danger. Did you have the belief that she was in physical danger on July 18, 2010?
I thought that she might be in some physical danger. When you say imminent right then, you know.
So, did you tell her to leave the house and to go stay with her friend that she worked with at Cairo 1?
I told her to go to the police station.
And you're not aware that on July 18, 2010, she did go to the police station, are you?
It took me convincing her to go to the police station.
You're not aware of any police reports from July 18, 2010, 2 days before you went to came from Los Angeles, are you?
I'm not aware of the police report, but I'm fairly sure she went. I'm not sure exactly what.
Is that based on what she told you?
Yes, and if I remember correctly, she talked to me after she went.
You haven't seen any police reports from that girl, have you?
Don't believe so.
Okay. Now, on that day, that's the day that you purchased the ticket to fly out from Los Angeles out to here, correct?
I believe so.
And how much did that ticket cost?
Objection always.
It goes to their contention of danger, Your Honor.
Judge, I think there's a fundamental misunderstanding here. Mr. Wilson is assuming that the self-defense is the defense of other rather than Mr. Jackson himself. And I think self-defense is being invoked was in immediate defense of Sylvia Smith, was a result of physical aggression by Mr. Malingoni.
What are you trying to get at with the price of the ticket?
I'm sorry?
What are you trying to establish?
That it cost more than a hotel room would have cost. We told his daughter to go to a hotel. If he, in fact, contends that she was in danger and he was concerned for her well-being.
Judge, again, these are two different issues, and I think what he's trying to do is conflate the self-defense versus this is argument for closing. Judge, but the price of a ticket is no bearing on what happened.
I would have to agree it's irrelevant.
On July 18, 2010, did you suggest, since you said you thought you were concerned for your daughter's well-being, did you suggest that she leave and get a hotel room?
I don't remember, to be honest with you. I don't.
You don't remember whether you did or whether you didn't?
I don't remember if I did, but I don't remember. I don't.
Okay. You believe that a hotel room would have been cheaper than an airline ticket from Los Angeles, correct?
That was a very temporary solution.
You were not aware of any plans that she had to leave that residence on July 18th, or July 19th, or July 20th. Is that a fair statement, sir?
Yes.
Okay. Now, you admit that you went to that residence on July 20th, 2010, correct? And you admit that you met with Mr. Malangoni that day, correct? You deny that you pushed him.
No, I don't.
No, you don't deny it?
No, I don't deny it.
Okay, do you recall, may I approach the witness, Your Honor?
Yes.
I'll show you what we marked as Exhibit 1, sir.
Davis Exhibit 1, the...
Yes. Question number 7 asked, it said that upon arriving, that's on page 2, sir, that upon arriving at the residence at 22 Deer Path Road, Monroe, Indiana, defendant, you, pushed or shoved the plaintiff. The response was denied.
Mm-hmm.
I pushed the plaintiff in response to an initial physical attack made by the plaintiff.
Right. I did push him in response to, he came up, he pushed me, and I pushed him back into the room.
And did you tell Officer Buck that he pushed you?
I did attempt to tell Officer Buck that, absolutely.
Well, you said you did attempt to. Is it your contention that he just didn't write down what you told him?
Yes.
Okay, so he's wrong?
I'm not saying he's wrong. I work around police officers all the time, and me too. I don't get everything right, and I don't write everything down.
Now, you agree that after he was pushed, he fell to the ground?
We began to wrestle, and we both fell to the ground.
But you deny you choked?
No, I don't deny that.
You don't deny that you choked him?
Let me.
Sir, yes or no? Did you or did you not choke Justin Malangoni?
Yes.
Okay. So then, now these admissions, if you could turn to the last page, please, sir.
The very last thing?
Yes, on the back there's an attestation. And it says there, Craig Jackson being first duly sworn on his oath, deposes and states that he is a defendant in the above captioned matter, that he has read the foregoing document, and that the answers made herein are true, correct, and complete to the best of his knowledge and belief. Would you agree that's what that says?
It does.
And that's your signature above that.
It is.
And that was notarized, correct?
Yes.
And you read that, correct?
I'm sure I did. It's been a while, but I'm sure I did.
And that was under oath, just as your testimony today is under oath, correct?
Yes.
And under oath a moment ago, you said, yes, you did choke Mr. Malangoni.
Yes.
Now, on number 3, page 3, number 14, you were asked that the defendant attempted to choke the plaintiff. Do you see that, sir?
Page 3, number 14.
Yes, sir, at the very bottom.
Right.
What was your answer when I asked you that in August of 2013?
It says deny.
Okay. And on page 14, again, asked under oath, number 15.
I'm sorry. What
Page 4, number 15.
Page 4, number 15.
Can you read the question that was asked to you in August of 2013, sir?
That the defendant choked the plaintiff.
And your response was deny.
Defendant denies intentionally choking the plaintiff.
So you accidentally choked the plaintiff.
We were wrestling, and honestly, I was grabbing whenever I could, and yes, I did end up choking him in that way.
And you told the officer. that you choked the plaintiff?
I did.
And would you agree with me that at some point he said, I can't breathe, or Sylvia, I can't breathe?
The choke lasted about 5 seconds at the most. And yes, he did say that.
Okay. Did you have a chance to see the visible marks on his neck?
I may have saw a picture, I'm not sure.
I'll get back to it later. So you agree, sir, that at some point you pushed Mr. Malangoni.
After he pushed me, yes.
You choked Mr. Malangoni.
During the struggle, yes.
You deny, though, that you told Officer Buck that you went to the residence at 22 Deer Path Road to confront Mr. Malangoni.
I went that's when I went to talk to them, both of them.
Why couldn't you do that on the telephone, sir?
I tried talking to him on the phone before.
Why didn't you wait 2 days when Ted was called and talk to them then on the telephone?
I tried talking to him on the phone before, and after 2 days, my temper wasn't at an extreme, and I was assuming that his wasn't either.
You have email, correct?
I did.
And you and Mr. Malangoni have exchanged emails.
We did once.
And in one email, you told him, you said that was the angry he's talking. All that? Something along those lines, or that you were angry?
I believe what I said was something to the effect that he said that he thought my daughter was a very angry person, and I think I said something to the effect at the end after he had told me that he admitted finally to yelling and screaming at my daughter and calling bitches and whores. After that, I did say that I think something to the effect of you told me that she was angry. Well, I guess you can say that I'm angry too, or something to that effect.
And you agreed with him to a point. You said, look, I understand my daughter's no angel.
I did. I may have said, yeah, I know my daughter's not perfect, and she made it, everybody gets angry.
Agreed. I have 2 daughters. They get angry. But she never told you of any history where he physically abused her at all.
My concern was this was progressing, and it progressed from him yelling and screaming, now he's pushing her down.
My question to you is, before July 18th of 2010, you had no information that Mr. Malangoni was physically abusive toward your daughter.
I don't believe so.
And she never told you, did she?
If she would have, I would have probably remembered that.
Any further questions?
Cross.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Jackson, I just want to clear up a couple of these things. I don't think we're going to give you a chance to fully answer. Do you still have those requests for admissions that was just marked as the exhibit in front of you?
I do.
Okay. In response to number 14 says that you attempted to choke the plaintiff, correct? And that's the one that we denied.
Right.
Okay, was that your goal? Was that your intention during this wrestling match?
No.
Okay. And then the following one, that you choked the plaintiff, because the statement that they wanted you to admit to was that the defendant choked the plaintiff, and you gave a qualified answer that says denied, but it says defendant denies intentionally choking the plaintiff, correct?
Right.
It's not, you never told anybody that this didn't happen or that you didn't believe Mr. Malangoni when you heard him say something to the effect of, I can't breathe. And there's a question that wasn't asked of you by Mr. Wilson, I'm going to ask you now. What did you do as soon as you heard Mr. Malangoni say, Sylvia, I can't breathe?
I let it go.
Mr. Jackson, I want to take the jury through kind of the brief timeline. Your daughter and Justin Malangoni, at some point in the relationship, buy this house together, correct?
Yes.
Did you advise your daughter, what were your thoughts when she told you, oh, we're buying a house?
I told her, number one, she didn't know him well enough and well enough. And that there's no way that she should be going into buying a house with someone that she doesn't know. I even offered, I told her, you know what, if you want the house, I'll sign my name to half of it, or I'll put it in my name. It doesn't matter, but you shouldn't be doing this.
Now, your daughter then in her 20s, did she take your advice on that issue?
Definitely.
Okay. The issues between Mr. Malangoni and your daughter, Mr. Wilson has referred to a couple of different times before the 20th, before the day that you were actually in the house and you confronted Mr. Malangoni. You did have an occasion to speak with Mr. Malangoni on the phone about a week prior, correct?
I don't remember if it was a week prior, but I did speak with him prior to that recently.
In the conversation where you actually were on the phone with Mr. Malangoni, this occurred before you got the phone call from your daughter saying he put his hands on me, pushed me down.
Definitely.
Okay. So at this point, can you tell the jury what you heard on the phone call when you were on the phone with Sylvia and how that progressed to you contacting and being on the phone with Mr. Malangoni?
They've been going through a bunch of stuff, and I've spoken to my daughter quite often. And the reception in the house was poor, and I think for her just to stay away from him, she was out in the driveway talking to me on the phone. We've been talking for a while, and I'm sitting there, and all of a sudden, all I hear in the background is, "You mother bitch." And I'm sitting there going, and I asked her, I said, "Is that him?" And she's like, "Yeah, that's him." And I said, "Hold on for a second." And I grabbed my landline.
Let me stop you here real quick. You're on your cell phone?
I'm on my cell phone.
To Sylvia's cell phone at this
It's on my
point.
cell phone.
Did you hang up with Sylvia at this point when you grabbed your landline?
I did not.
Okay, I'm sorry. When you grabbed your landline, Sylvia's still on your cell phone.
Right.
Please proceed.
So I call, and he picks up the phone, and I say, "What's going on?" And he hangs up. It was very brief. And so I called him right back. And then I said, "Hey, what's going on?" And there was a little back and forth for a couple of minutes. He said, "You don't know what it's like with your daughter and all of that." And I said something like, he said, "You don't know what it's like being here." And sarcastically, I said, "Do you want me to be here?" And we went back and forth a little bit. And when I tried to talk, he would interrupt me. So I said, "Hey, you know what? I'm going to let you say everything you have to say, and then I'll say what I have to say." He talked. I didn't interrupt him. And then when he got to, and I asked him, "Are you finished?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "Okay, now it's fine." I started talking. He started interrupting me. He wouldn't let me get a half a sentence out. And then he hung up.
Did you have, all right, at that point, you didn't terminate that call with Mr. Malangoni. He hung up on you.
Yes, he hung up on me.
After that had occurred, I'm sorry, yeah, it's not after. This is not the first time your daughter has told you about the the arguments between her and Mr. Malangoni, correct?
No,
Okay. This is the first time you were actually on the phone to overhear it.
it was.
Okay.
I might have heard a little something before, but this was just over the top.
What was the volume of his voice?
We already said he was yelling.
Okay, well, I'm just trying to get the characterization.
Overruled. Go ahead.
She was in the driveway. I could hear him clearly yelling, and she was some distance away from him. He was yelling at the top of his lungs.
Did he give you a justification for why he was not only yelling but saying those things that he said?
Didn't know.
Other than you don't know what it's like, she's driving me nuts, or something to that effect.
Judge, he's leading his witness, Your Honor, has been doing it repeatedly. This is with
I was crossed. I'm just trying to get through the substance of the issues that Mr.
Well.
Just ask for limited permission to leave. Give us projected carriage.
Overruled. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. What?
So, I believe, I'm sorry, we don't have a court reporter. I'm going to move on. I can't.
We have a court reporter.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You can read it back.
You have a question?
I hope I have a court
I
reporter.
didn't even see him over the desk there. The chair next to Mr. Jackson. Can we have that last question right back, please?
Before that.
Do we have any other question?
Yeah, other than
No, there was no.
That's okay. I'll move on. It's tangential.
Okay.
That phone call was not the first communication that you had with Mr. Malangoni about his verbal abuse with your daughter.
I'm going to object to the characterization of verbal abuse. He said a name, that's an argumentative question.
Judge, we have the testimony that Mr. Malangoni is screaming. He can actually overhear it from a phone call in the driveway.
Well, maybe you can characterize it a little differently.
This is not the first time you have had some form of communication with Mr. Malangoni about the way he verbally communicated or said things about it to your daughter, correct?
it's not the only time.
In fact, I'm going to approach. Judge, do you prefer defense to use letters or numbers on exhibits?
Letters, Judge. Letters.
May we have this marked as Defendants A, please? David, that's this page. Mr. Jackson, I'm going to ask you to take a look at Defendants Exhibit A, it's a document for 2 pages. Can you take a look at that and let me know if you recognize that document?
Yes.
What is that document?
It's the email exchange between Justin and I.
You see the date on the emails there?
5/26/10.
So this will be a couple of months before, give or take a week or so, before this phone call that you had with Mr. Malangoni.
Exact time.
Okay, so, sure. So when you're on the phone with Mr. Malangoni, on the phone, this is your phone conversation. This is a repeat occurrence with Mr. Malangoni and your daughter, right? He, in fact, attempts to apologize. I'm sorry, Your Honor, at this time it's been, foundation has been laid and identified. I'd like to move for admission of Defendants A.
Any objection? He's admitted.
Mr. Malangoni actually apologizes and tries to qualify his apology by suggesting, well, you don't know what it's like to be with your daughter, and he even said he lost it, flipped his lid or something to that effect, right?
He did.
And this was 2 months before you even had to get that conversation.
Right.
And in that email exchange, when Mr. Wilson was asking you about your recollection of it, that you admitted to him, yeah, that made you angry.
Right.
Because I think you referred to your daughter as being an angry person, and you also admitted, well, you're making me angry too. Correct?
Right.
Did you hop on a plane
No.
to confront Mr. Malangoni at that point? You said what you needed to in the email. Did Mr. Malangoni give any further response other than what's on those 2 pages between that point and July 20th?
I don't believe so.
Okay. Fast forward in time, I'm sorry, let me back up. So from May of 2010 till the overhearing of the phone call that we just heard, that the jury has just heard about. And then we go to the phone call that Sylvia tells you he put his hands on her and pushed her down, right? Okay. It was that third incident in this chain that we've described where she was pushed down. That's the time you decide you're going to come out and interview.
Right.
What was your intention?
My intention was simply to sit down and talk to both of them and figure out a solution.
Did you physically threaten Mr. Malangoni before, in your phone conversation with him a few days before?
No.
Did you ever tell him that this is, again, the phone conversation where you actually spoke with him, did you ever tell him, I'm going to get on a plane, come down there and beat your ass?
No.
After your conversation with your daughter about him putting his hands on her and pushing her down, you decided to get the ticket, you came out. Yes. What day did you arrive?
Honestly, I don't remember.
Was it the night before or the day of the incident?
It was the day of the incident.
The 20th?
Okay.
If I represent you that it's July 20th, 2010, all the parties agree to that day?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
You came in, you went to your daughter's and Mr. Malangoni's house. Who was there when you arrived?
When I arrived, my daughter was outside at the back gate playing with her, doing something with the dogs.
You speak to her?
Yeah. We talked for a couple minutes, a few minutes.
What did you talk about?
First we talked about the fact that I remember the nightmare of the trip getting to their house because I didn't know my way and I'd gotten lost. And then I told her, you know what, you might as well go ahead and talk to him and get it over with.
Did you and your daughter then go inside the house?
We did.
Sylvia was with you then when you went. Where was Mr. Malangoni in the home the first time that you had any contact and communication with him?
He was in it's a weird configuration of the house. It seems like something was added on. There's like a bedroom, then another bedroom, and a hallway. I was in that hallway.
Mr. Jackson, can we mark this as defendant's B? Mr. Jackson, I'm going to hand you what we've marked as defendant's exhibit B and ask if you recognize that document.
Yes.
What is that?
This is a drawing that I drew of the basic outline of their home.
kind of like the floor plan.
You're right.
Judge, this is going to be a demonstrative exhibit.
Okay.
Allowed to be published to the jury on the video screen.
No. Any objections, Mr.
Objection.
Okay. So we hit the Elmo. Do I have to hit the seal first?
No, yeah.
Okay, it's ready. Okay.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Jackson, so if, and Your Honor, well, at this point, Mr. Jackson, this is a diagram that you drew to give the idea of your recollection of the layout of the home. Right. The upper right-hand corner, in case we need to point, there's something that you wrote that says Justin's bedroom.
Right.
And I think we have a closet, and there's a little bathroom there, and then the weight room to its left, correct?
Right.
Can you describe for the jury where you were when you first had any kind of contact, meaning words, anything with Mr. Malfioni?
At the weight room door, near.
You want to stand up?
Yeah, Your Honor, maybe Mr.
Sir, I'll go
Jackson,
back and point, sir.
just when you're answering, try and turn to the jury so they can hear you. Once you point, please.
Okay.
You speak up.
This is the hallway where I was at.
Okay. Now, was there a closed, was the door closed?
Yes, this door was closed. It was closed.
When you got to that door, what happened next?
Sylvia knocked on the door, and it wasn't very loud. So after she knocked on the door, there was no answer. So I knocked on the door, and I knocked harder. And the door actually pushed open just a touch, and there was this chain latch on it. And
Fred, I'm sorry, let me interrupt you for one moment. After Sylvia knocked, was there any response from inside the room?
no.
How about after you knocked?
After I knocked, I immediately no, but I thought I might have heard something. And then I heard, "What the fuck do you want?" or something to that effect.
Okay. Did you recognize that as Mr. Malgoni's voice?
Yeah.
Again, without being able to quote verbatim, something to the effect of, "What the F do you want?" What was your response? Or what did you say or do next?
I said, "I want to talk to you and Sylvia about what's been going on."
Did you respond to that statement?
He said something to the effect of, "Screw, fuck you and your daughter," or something like that. And from that point on, honestly, we were going back and forth.
You were both yelling at each other through the door?
Yeah.
Okay. How long do you think you were at the door with that verbal exchange?
Maybe a minute. It wasn't very long.
When Mr. Malangoni's first response was, "Fuck you and your daughter," were you becoming angry with him?
I got a little angry.
There was some testimony that we heard from Officer Falk, something to the effect of, "Did you make a statement? Why don't you try putting your hands on the man?"
I did.
Okay.
I absolutely did.
And that was in
That was,
exchange.
yeah.
After this minute or so had elapsed, did the conversation, I'll call it conversation, end?
It stopped, and the door pushed closed just a little bit, and that's when he came out the door and charged me.
Okay. And so how long was there silence on the other end of the door before the door closed? Mr.
It wasn't a couple of seconds. If that.
When you say the door kind of closed and then it opened, was that to your mind so he could undo the chain lock?
Yeah, it was, definitely.
Okay. Now, where were you standing? If you could show the jury, were you still at that door?
I was still at the door.
Okay. Where was Sylvia at this point?
Sylvia walked away. And honestly, I don't know exactly when she walked away. I think she walked away after I knocked.
Okay.
And I'm standing here again, and the door is shut. Next thing I know, he comes out. Should I continue?
Please.
Next thing I know, he comes out of the door. He pushes me against this wall, and I braced my foot against this wall and pushed him back into the room. That's when we started wrestling.
Okay, Mr. Jackson, did you demonstrate for the jury the manner in which, or describe or demonstrate the manner in which Justin, what did he do physically when he came out the door at you?
He came out the door at me, and he put his elbow up like this, and he pushed me up against the wall.
Mr. Jackson, before that moment of contact where he had come out with his elbow up and forearm raised, had you made an aggressive physical move towards Mr. Malangoni?
No, the door was between us.
When he came out, you just described that the momentum pushed you against the wall in the hallway there, correct? You push back, and you end up in which room?
In this room, the weight room.
Okay. We call that the weight room because what was in it?
It literally, a weight set was right about here, and there were weights on the floor.
Okay. Mr. Jackson, at this point, you can take your seat again. Mr. Jackson, is this altercation where both your hands are on one another, like a wrestling match, or is it punches being thrown and exchanged?
No punches were being thrown. It was a wrestling match.
Okay. You get slammed against the wall, you get able to push back momentum, you go into the weight room. What happened to both of you as you're wrestling once you get into the weight room?
I'm wrestling with him, and there came a point where I slipped on the weight. And as I slipped on the weight, I pushed him away. And I get up, I made it to my feet. I hadn't really fallen. And then all of a sudden he's coming back at me.
At this point, when you say he's coming back at you, were punches thrown, or did it go back into a wrestling match?
It went back into a wrestling match.
Okay. Now, I heard the jury heard you describe to Mr. Wilson say when we were wrestling, you were kind of grabbing for anything. During the second, I'd say part two, even though it was just very brief, the second part after the stumble, is that when you were able to position yourself that you believe Mr. Malangoni would then say, Sylvia, I can't breathe, or I can't breathe?
There was a struggle after that. Like, we were struggling, and I was grabbing whatever part of him I possibly could. If it would have been his toe, I would have grabbed his toe.
Was your intention to position yourself intentionally to strangle Mr. Malangoni?
No.
After Justin said something to the effect of, I can't, you said you let him.
I let him go.
Were you on top of him? Were you guys next to each other?
I was actually, we ended up with him being in front of me, and him being here, and me sort of over it.
Okay.
And I had my arm under his neck.
When you let him go, what did he do?
He got up, I stood back a little bit, and he turned around and he literally walked out.
To your recollection, did Sylvia say anything to either of you while the wrestling match was going on?
She said, stop, let him go, something like that.
Okay. At what point do you recall hearing it?
That was during, I believe, the initial part of it.
Okay. Do you know if she was telling that to you or to Justin?
I'm assuming she was talking to him.
You don't know. You heard those words.
Absolutely.
Other than that, did you hear her say anything else that you know?
No.
Okay. During, at any point, from the moment that that door opened to the time Mr. Malingoni stood up and walked out, did you see your daughter try and block his path?
Absolutely not. No.
In fact, other than the fact that you heard her say at some point, "Stop and let him go," had you known the moment that Sylvia walked back up the hallway? You said earlier after she knocked, she walked away to wherever in the house. Do you know at what point she returned?
It was before before the point where I pushed him off, because when I pushed him off, I looked up and I remember seeing her.
At any point during the wrestling match, did you take Mr. Malingoni's head and bang it against the weights of the floor?
No.
When Mr. Malingoni got up and you stepped back, after that moment, he turns and walks away. Was anything else said between you two at that moment?
No, I don't believe so, no.
Did you chase after Mr. Malingoni and try and tackle him or stop him from leaving?
No.
After Mr. Malingoni had left, did you flee the residence?
No. I actually
You stayed there.
stayed there, yes.
Mr. Jackson, the moment that that door opened, and Mr. Malingoni came out with his elbow and his forearm up, were you defending yourself at that moment?
Jackson calls for legal conclusion.
I'm sorry. Well, Judge, I don't know if that's a legal conclusion. The legal conclusion would be whether or not he was justifiable in the actions. I'm just asking his state of mind.
Overruled.
Absolutely.
I don't have any further questions.
Approach the witness, Your Honor.
Yes.
What's that? Oh, this looks up there.
Sir. You've been out to this residence before, correct?
I have.
In fact, you visited Justin and your daughter and watched the NBA playoffs the year prior, correct?
I don't think they'd be a club, but I've been there.
Oh.
Absolutely.
Seen his dogs before?
It had been probably a year or two, yeah.
You like those dogs? You get along with them okay?
I only know one of the dogs. One dog I had no relationship with at all.
Now, you knew this was Justin's bedroom on July 20th, correct?
Yes.
And that weight room was the weight room that Justin used, correct?
I'll assume, yeah.
All right. And that door was locked from the inside, was it not?
There was a chain lock on it.
All right. Now, when he said what he said to you, did you assume it, or did it not occur to you that maybe Justin didn't want to talk to you?
We were going back and forth.
At one point, did you not have to go outside and look in the windows to see if you could see what he was doing?
No.
Okay. Now, this was his home, correct?
Yes.
Not yours.
What?
I don't want to buy the family system. How do I put this down?
Here, I can turn it off. Don't worry.
I'll leave it up here. It's not admitted. This was just for demonstration.
How's this rolling?
I'll take care of it.
I don't break it.
I'll take care of it. Okay. Proceed.
I'd like to talk to you about this email. May I approach the police, Your Honor?
Sure.
Give me the exhibit. You have it in front of you, sir? In that email, you told him in May that because of what you heard, you were angry. What you overheard him say. May 25th, to be exact.
Okay.
The anger I heard in your voice was enough for me to look for the next flight to Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
Is that a yes?
I didn't say that.
You didn't say, let's talk about this, did you?
I'd already tried to talk about it.
This is in May of 2000.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
This is in May.
I'm sorry. But I did, eventually did try to talk to him. Okay. I'm sorry.
My point was, you told him on May 25th, 2010, that because of what you heard him say, you were angry, correct?
I did say that.
And that you wanted to get on the next flight to Chicago, correct?
I did say that.
You didn't say anywhere in your response on May 25th, 2010, hey, let's sit down and talk and let all cooler heads prevail. Or anything to that effect.
No, I didn't.
When Justin said he couldn't breathe, did you tell him, I don't care?
No.
And it's your testimony, you didn't intend to choke him, it was just sort of accidental.
My testimony, that's the way where we ended up. And I grabbed him wherever I could.
And so that's why you told the officer, I choked Mr. Malangoni.
I don't know if I told the officer in those words, but I'm sure I told him that I did choke him.
Okay. So you admit that?
Yes.
On the conversation you had had before, the prior telephone conversation before the email exchange, did you also tell him that the last thing you want to see is me?
I may have said, no, I don't, I may have said something, he said something to the effect of, you don't know what it's like being here. And I think I did say something like, do you want me there?
Okay. You didn't say the last thing you want to see is me, though?
I don't believe so.
Now, when you say you don't know what it's like, did he report to you that he had difficulty living with Sylvia?
In the email, if I can't, you want me to read the email and see what he's saying?
Please, I don't want to cherry pick. I want Mr. Vargas. Just read the jury's email.
Okay, I'll read you what he said.
I want you to read yours and then his response to you.
But he initiated the email.
Well, the one at the top of that page, sir, that's May 26, 2010. That's after your May 25th.
Yes, but he initiated the email.
Okay. Please read the jury after.
Okay. He states, the first part of it says, and my eyes on his good readers.
I have fair readers if you want to borrow them.
I think I can manage, but thank you, though.
Okay.
Mr. Jackson. Oh, yeah, you're the man. Thank you. Okay. Mr. Jackson, first of all, I wanted to apologize for all that you've been dragged into. I want to make it clear I love your daughter. I just could not take her negativity and constantly belittling of me on a regular basis. She regularly wants to argue just to prove her being right all the time. I have not disrespected your daughter in any way. I'm sure she will tell you differently, as for many things she tells you are far from what really go on. For the most part, I try to keep my space and mind my business, but she will even go as far as to sit next to me and talk shit about me on the phone with others on a daily basis. I hope this will shed some perspective on the situation. Your daughter is a very angry person inside, and I hope she finds happiness and peace. I thought we were going to become good friends, but that seemed impossible at this point. Also, for the record, I never cheated on her, and I do not have a girlfriend. I really didn't want to spend the rest of my life with her. I hope this can remain between the two of us. If Sylvia would know I contacted you, she would flip and continue to try and fight with me.
Okay. And you issued a response, correct?
And my response was, there is no apology necessary. My daughter's involved, and that involves me. I read your email, and the only inference to any wrong you may have done is, for the most part, I try to keep my space and mind my business. You also wrote about what she tells me. Believe it or not, she will tell me her part, and then I put in quotations, for the most part, of whatever is going on. I know my daughter is not an angel. You wrote about her negativity. She was not the person I heard screaming and cursing at the top of their lungs. That would have been bad enough. However, the names that you called her, I'm sure there was no disrespect intended, and the anger I heard in your voice was enough for me to look for the next flight to Chicago. By the way, it was that angry person that asked me not to do that. The same person who informed me that she wanted to handle this herself. Maybe not if you consider me an angry person. I am. As far as keeping this from my daughter, I would not be much of a father if I did. I will ask her to leave this out of any discussions between the two of you.
Now,
You want this response after that?
no, they sure you can see it. You can see the evidence. I've been married to my wife 27 years. I've yelled at her, but I've never struck her with an open hand or pushed her. Yelling at somebody, calling somebody a name, does not mean that physical violence will automatically ensue.
Objection, is this argument, or is there a question?
It's a question. Yelling at somebody does not mean that a physical altercation will automatically ensue, does it?
I agree.
Okay. Have you ever yelled at somebody?
Of course.
I have too. But it doesn't mean that I'm going to hit them or beat them. The same would hold for you, correct?
Sure.
Okay. But you still went to the residence on July 20th, 2010.
This was after we had pushed her down and it escalated.
Based on what she told you.
Right.
Okay. You don't know what happened other than what she told you.
Okay.
Right. If I came into your home in Los Angeles, I'm yelling at you because I didn't like the outcome of the trial or something, and I get right in your face, you have a right to push me out of my room, or out of your room, in your home.
I'm sorry.
If I go into your home and I'm yelling at you, do you have a right to push me out of my room, or out of the room that I'm in, if it's in your home?
If you come to my home,
Yes, sir.
do I have a right to push you out of my home?
Yes, sir.
I don't know. If you're yelling, no. I don't think so.
You don't have a right to push me out of your home, your room that you're in?
If you come to my home
Yes.
and you're yelling at me, do I have a right to push you out of my home?
Yes.
I have a right to, I think I can tell you to leave.
Okay. And if I don't?
Then at that point, call the police.
Right. By the way, when your daughter was putting the dogs in the backyard, was she doing that so the dogs wouldn't be in the house when you and Justin and she talked about this?
I don't know. No, I told you I wasn't familiar. One of the dogs was new, and she, I think, didn't know me at all.
Okay.
Not at all.
No further questions.
Very good.
Just a couple follow-up. Mr. Jackson, during the time Mr. Malangoni was rather artfully having his conversation with you between the door, saying, F you and your daughter, at any point did he say, leave my house?
No.
In fact, you were a guest in the house by your daughter, correct? You had every legal right to be in there.
I did.
You did saw the testimony of Officer Bach earlier today.
I did.
Were those four statements that were indicated in my cross-examination the only four statements that you gave to him about how the incident occurred?
No.
After that report was made, were you offered an opportunity to review information or sign off on its accuracy? Did you ever try and get a copy of that report?
I did.
Did you obtain a copy?
No. I contacted the Melville police station a few times, and what they kept telling me was that tell your lawyer to get it. And at the time, I didn't have a lawyer.
your testimony that Officer Buck simply didn't write down some of the things that you told him?
Right.
And when he said that you went to 22 Deer Path to confront Mr. Malagone, that was a mistake?
No, I'm saying those are his words, not mine.
All right. So you're saying that he was wrong when he said that's what you told him?
I'm saying that I don't believe I used the word confront.
Well, you heard him testify that that's what you told him.
Right. And I'm saying that that's not what I said.
Okay. Thank you.
Anything? Ladies and gentlemen, now's your opportunity. If you have any questions for the witness, you jot them down, put them in the basket. Where's the basket? Al, get the basket. Even if you don't have a question,